All right. Still good morning because it is quite early hours. So I would like to welcome you on this short meeting regarding how to design the mobile-first solution for collaboration and communication. I know that all the time questions about that are more or less the same, but however the answers are changing because of the changes in the technological environment, but at the same time in the social environment, and of course because of the expectations of the companies, customers, and employees. So generally speaking, we are witnessing general changes in business and social environment. And that's why I will describe a little bit our story regarding how we accomplished to have the mobile platform for collaboration and communications. I think that the best thing we will organize our meeting that I will just go through the presentation, and by the end of the presentation there will be a Q&A session, and we will go deeper into some topics which you will find interesting. So let me start what I will cover during this presentation. The first, I would like to show you the context. So of course I will describe briefly the company, better understand the environment. Then I will go through the communication context, which is quite important to understand again what's going on. Then I will present you the mysteries trigger. What's that? You will discover later on. I will tell you how was our approach to designing of the mobile solutions, mobile first solutions, and how we introduced the, let's say, the first steps of digital workplace. Then what is quite important, and I believe this is the questions we should ask ourselves more frequently than before, it is about how to set up the KPIs and how to measure the outcomes of digital transformation. That's not quite obvious, so that I will focus a little bit more on that. And I will tell you also how to transform the culture, because the culture is a very fundamental pillar of the digital transformation and generally establishing of the collaboration communication platforms in general. All right, so basic facts about the company. We are a quite large company because we have 65 stores or 65 branches and 11,000 employees. You can imagine that we are serving per year approximately to 40 million of customers. So we have a headquarters in Warsaw, and our communication team counts no more than 7 people. It's, let's say, the 7 people. It's communication regarding the internal communication, this is external communications, this is employer branding, this is the crisis communication, the CSR communication. So as you see, this is a very broad scope of communication activities. All right, so the retail, as we are operating on the DIY market, so we are supplying products and services for people who just conducting their projects for, let's say, home improvement projects or garden improvement projects. So we are supplying generally, as I said, products and services. Having 65 branches and a headquarters in Warsaw, we're a quite dispersed group of employees. That, of course, provokes some challenges. As in all companies, young people are coming on board, and they have their expectations regarding the working environment or digital workplace environment. So we have to cope with that expectations. As you probably expect, the retail sector is lowly saturated with, let's say, the technology at all. As, for example, number of computers per one employee is relatively low. We have approximately 1 computer per 10 employees. As you're probably visiting stores like ours, you know that the client service is a top priority. So being in the store, you can expect to be immediately spotted by the sales assistant and being asked regarding how can he or she help you with your project. So, This is the really top priority being focused on client. And in the environment at all, the very significant role of the intranet. So the intranet still played the crucial role in dissemination of the information. And generally, I'm not saying about my team because it's quite developed or it's quite numerous, but it's about the general trend. Communication teams are relatively small. All right, how does those look like inside? As I said before, this is the client, this is about client service, this is about designing, this is about advisory, this is about crafting services on demand, and of course, this is about the logistics of a product. What's important to fully characterize to briefly describe the environment is about the values. As you will find out later on that values are a cornerstone of all collaboration and communication activities. Our values, our global values are quite simple, as it is about the simplicity, proximity, spirit of performance, generosity, honesty, consistency, and respect for others. So nothing, unique in terms of the values, but however, they are widely respected by our co-workers, and for sure, it supports our efforts toward building a very, I would say, collaboration-friendly environment. So, just to rehearse, without the culture, without the right values in place, probably implementing of any collaboration tools or solutions which will boost the final effects would be complicated. You can imagine, for example, very hierarchical organizations, and while you will put there some ESN, I would say ESN is Enterprise Social Network. This is the social media for the working environments. It's very complicated. So these solutions prefer better the flat structures with people being all together, being close to each other. Just to give you one of the examples. If you don't like me and I don't like you, you can imagine that if someone will put between us the most sophisticated collaboration tool, we won't use it to its full potential. So it's about that. So first, we need to take care of the physical collaboration, about the physical environment for collaboration, and then we can go online for this collaboration. So that's quite important. Anytime, or when you are beginning the mobile journey, you need to ask yourself question why. What for do we need this solution? What kind of business purpose we would like to address by this solution? Then, of course, you need to ask yourself whether your people, your teams are ready for this solution. Are they ready in terms of their posture, of their technological competences? And it's really very important questions, because you completely differently shape the solutions while there is when employees has a high digital skills, and completely differently while there is a technological gap or technological heritage. The one thing I would recommend strongly is to identify the bottlenecks. Why? Because I was witness, and again, I had huge problems. I encountered huge problems regarding, for example, the IT security that provoked somehow the time problems with the implementation of the solution. And of course, it is not only about the implementation of the solution, but it's about the marketing of the solution. So the one thing is about the implementation, and the second thing is how to sell this solution to employees, how to make them live, and how to make them use this solution. So we are talking generally about the adoption rate. So the mysterious trio I told you about. So as you can You might think that there are three main pillars, and of course in the middle there is a business purpose. And what is the easiest part of this trio to be implemented in organizations? It is about the hardware. You know, it is simple. You buy and you put it on the table, and more or less you got it. The second, which is slightly more complicated, it is the software. However, because of SaaS models of software delivery, it is not so complicated as it used to be before. So software is still not so complicated. Nevertheless, it still needs to be somehow adapted to some characteristic of the organization. And the most difficult part of this trio is the culture and people, to change people attitude, to change culture of the organization regarding the collaboration. So if you have to keep something in mind from this presentation, it is about this trio. It's about hardware, software, and culture and people, because you need to work on these three pillars all together. All right, and here is some slide which is showing how to perceive the speed of change regarding different elements of the environment. So you see, you can almost immediately implement new tools. You can modify a little bit in the same speed the capabilities of people. You know how to how they use the extension of the tools, etc. Then is a culture itself, so it's about the values, and then it's on the bottom there are people, and they are the most challenging part of any organization. All right, I will tell you our story because it's and the story will be divided into the chapters, and I will briefly tell you our story. The story never ends. It continues beyond 2019, so we'll continue our efforts into 2020. But let me just describe you the phases of our journey toward mobile-first digital workplace. So first was the mobile offer. I will go deeper after. So we offered our employees smartphones. Then it was about establishing the network, the Wi-Fi. It was just a cornerstone for data delivery. Then by the first time, we designed a mobile intranet. So available anytime, anywhere on all devices. So that was 2015, almost half a decade ago. The same year, we introduced Office 365, which was a breakthrough point, and I will briefly describe later. Then we introduced smartphones for all. Then we introduced the online social media policy to frame a little bit the rules. Then the Intranet 2.0. And still work in progress. This is about the cultural evolution. Are you ready? So let's start with the prologue. So this is about the business goals. I told you about ask yourself why. As there is always some business purpose in organization, we are having two in Ramallah, Poland. It is about being the market leader. And in order to be a market leader, we need to face challenges, market challenges, and we need to face the new requirements from the client's side. In the same time, we need to boost productivity and increase our competitiveness. But we want to make also our workplace quite attractive place to be for, let's say, maybe not youngsters, but this young generations. Here you see the GNU Intranet 1.0, extremely complicated. It was introduced in 2010, so by the time it was very well developed. It was co-worked with 100 employees, and it had a very high adoption rate. Almost 90% of users, of employees was using it. So very, very satisfied and very well developed solution. However, unavailable for mobile devices, only available for PCs. And as I said, in 2014, 2014, the number of PCs per users, it was 1 PC for 10 users. So that's not much, and to spend some time on the content, you had to share the device. So not very comfortable. All right. In the same time, we have very experienced corporate communication team. We have very people-oriented culture. What's important, the young employees outnumber this more experienced one. Of course, like in every organization, we have people who are more willing to read content than create it. So that's quite important when you consider the social media, or the solution based on the social media, let's say, component. So you saw the prologue, so you see now the context. You better understand our starting point. And the first thing is the offer. That was our initial effort to experiment a little bit with the smartphones, just as part of our mission to let people have access to somehow cheap, inexpensive, I would say, smartphones, together with a specially crafted plan for these smartphones. So we just wanted to start popularization of the smart devices within our employees. And of course, to allow people bring their own devices into the work, to the work. So it was we crafted this offer together with our let's say the local network operator. It was Orange, which is probably quite known in different countries. So we just started negotiating with them. And finally, we came to the offer that people will get even smartphone for 1 zloty, which is something like 25 euro cent, so quite inexpensive. They will have the package of data, and they will have unlimited calls and SMSs and MMSs. So, however, the smartphone, the device, and the plan is fully covered by them. We are just negotiating on their behalf the contract with the mobile operator, and we are able to do that because we somehow obliged ourselves to sold hundreds of these subscriptions. So finally, just to summarize this offer, we sold something like 600 subscriptions. Total 7.5% of all employees in this initial offer decided to buy these smartphones. So they started to be equipped with their private smartphones, and we changed our internal rules that they were allowed to bring them to work and to work with them. However, we encountered the first problem, the network. Well, of course, it is about giving access to data. So, because of these smartphones were equipped with the data plan, of course, quite limited because it was about 1 gigabyte. So, in current terms, it's not much. It was complicated, and we decided that we will establish the Wi-Fi network in all our stores, having in mind not only our employees, but also customers who are more expecting to have access to internet no matter where. So it started to be available widely through all our stores, and we had to cope with the security issues, and we were working about the coverage for 2 years approximately to make this solution quite reliable. As for clients, it's maybe not important to such an extent, but however, when you want to serve clients, you need to have the very reliable connection to the internet, because if there is some disruptions, then the connection is lost and probably the session is lost, and that will provoke this content from both sides, from our employees and from the customers. A little bit of joke, but however, it's the digital transformation is also being considered as quite important factor, even by the biggest conservatives. This is the photo of Cathedral in Madrid. As you see, they are also establishing the data access for the prayers inside the church to have to let them access the internet. So it is not only important to build this digital, let's say, environment for the business organizations, but also for such a wide spectrum of different entities. The first mobile app. So as you see, we have a hardware in place. At least at this phase, it is the privately owned hardware. We have the network, which is owned by the organization. So it's high time for first development of our application, which will allow our employees to access information about the company, what's going on. And we decided that we want to have the application which will allow people to have access to corporate content. And we would like to have a tool to promote the culture, and of course to make a tool which will be easy in use and allow to share the content. So in general terms, we developed a very simple intranet for both types of devices, because the device type was still not standardized. So it was either the iOS, either the Android phones. So it had only 4 key functions, because we conducted the survey among our employees, what is important for them. And we found out that the crucial functionality for them actually is an address book. Can you imagine? For them, the most important thing was having access and being connected to others. Then the second most important thing was about knowing what's going on in the organization. So very simple stream of information. And the third, it was about the activity stream. It was about seeing what others are publishing and being able to publish something by myself, photo or simple text, and to see whether it's liked or not by others. So you will see how simple this solution is. On the right side of your screen, you see a screenshot of this application made in the iOS system. It is about the actualities, it is about the board, so activity stream, it's about the context, and access to forums. While the space when people had a chance to discuss things. Forums are no longer a valid solution for us. We replace it, but nevertheless, that was the phase where it was still vivid. What's important, that's why you are designing the solution for internal or external, you need to keep a consistency. By the time we had 2 applications, or we had one application which was already launched, it was the customer-oriented application, and it was widely available to customers with information about the RMLM, about products, promotions. It was about our locations, etc. So it was the customer application, which was also widely or broadly used by our employees. And on the right side, you see the intranet application, and you probably can notice the consistency in design. I hope you can see it. So the burger menu on the upper right corner, very, very similar way of navigating. So the UX is quite similar. This is about building everything in consistency with the organizational DNA. Well, how this intranet was distributed, so we designed a special launch site or landing page where the employees could download either an application for Android or the iOS system. So it was very simple to get it, and we had to overcome the problems with the certificates. Both for Android and iOS, we had to submit additional instructions how to allow people to install applications the offsite, because it's somehow differently the different mode of distribution. It wasn't distributed through the Play Store or App Store. So here you see the first thing, it's about the news. So very simple stream of information. You know, you could click on the information and then it was displayed fully. And we kept the space for the marketing of activities in the upper area of the screen. You see that there is a 360. This is about the survey, and we can marketing. We could marketing anything there in order to just bring attention of users, employees to some activities. What's important, I think, also to notice, it's about how to design, you know, the UX in terms of, for example, size of fonts, sizes of the graphics, etc. So this needs to be taken into consideration while designing. I told you about the activity stream. It was very successful functionality of the application. It was very simple. You could just take a photo and then you put a photo together with some comment, and others could read and give a like. As you see on the right side, there is a thumb up and the number of likes given by other users. It was very important to just enable people to share best practices, because without this functionality, they won't be able to, you know, share what they see, what they experience in their workplace. So that was the very crucial functionality. And even because of this functionality, we were able to, you know, to organize some contents. For example, for the best photo or the best or the nicest, you know, graphics or design at store. As you see, the creation was very simple. The topic was collaboration. Then it's not easy. It's my text, and simple as that. So, you know, no number of fonts, bolts, etc. It was simple as that. And I told you that the most important functionality was about the address book, and people found it really useful because they could call others, they could send SMSs or whatever. They could know who is who in organization. It was very simple, no categories, no any, you know, division of this space. You just had to put in the name and a surname or position name, and then it would filter the right people. I will surprise you with a cost, because the total cost of development of this intranet application was something like 5,000 euro. So I would say peanuts in current terms. Then it's time, next chapter in this story, it's about productivity tool. Just to summarize, so we have a hardware, we have the network, which makes people enabled to be connected to intranet or internet. We have the first intranet app, which push the corporate content to the devices. Now it's time for the productivity tool. And you can imagine the productivity tool was main aim was to foster collaboration and enable the digital contact between the employees and employees with our clients. So and we of course was somehow obliged to educate people how to use the full potential of the new tool. Our selection was the Office 365, which I think now it's the industrial standard for collaboration and communication. And we introduced Office 365 for all employees. You can imagine we covered 11,000 employees with Office 365 tools, so Word, PowerPoint or Excel, and at the same time with Outlook and personal email accounts, which is something unusual for a retail business, as it is not so frequent that that employees in retail are having their own email addresses. Well, in Leroy Merlin, that's the unique, because they have, and they can send messages outside, inside. They can collaborate based on quite sophisticated tools. In the same time, while we introduced the Office 365, of course, part of the package is Yammer, and it was the first social tool we implemented, so we had to educate people how to use it, what are the rules, but that I will speak later on. And what was important, because for some, maybe, for a very small portion of employees, this email was the very first professional email they had in their career. So we had to implement the very first rules, how to use the email, how to write an email, to who write an email, how to construct, for example, the topic in order to make the emails more searchable, how to, who should be copied into the email and when, how to, for example, create the signature, email signature, what are the elements, the standard elements of the signature. So that was very, very important. The Office 365 is nothing unusual. As you see, here are the screens from the inside of app. And here we have the example of this rules, this master of email. So here in the right side, you see how to create the signature. How should look standard signature in your email. We had to do that because the number of emails exchanged overnight increased by 400%. So that was huge. And people somehow got lost to use what, when, to use OneDrive for what, to use email for what. So it was really necessary. All right, so just to again summarize, we have a hardware, we have a network, we have the intranet, and we have the Office 365, so the productivity tool. Now it's time for the very bold move. It's about equipping all employees with professional smartphones. So, fully supported by a company, and to equip 11,000 employees with small computers, because however you can treat the smartphones, this is the small computers which just enhance the capacities, the potential all of us, however, as we are all users probably of smartphones, and we know that how much it is helpful in our private life and our professional area. All right. Of course, it has not happened over one night, but we performed some tests just to better understand the behavior, the postures, the ways of using this hardware, and we needed some feedback from our employees. And it was about the UX. It was about what kind of smartphone would best fit into the working environment, because it had to be quite robust. It had to be with a relatively large screen, because our customers wanted to be for example, to see some pictures on the screen. And of course, it is not only about the intranet, but we were started to thinking about development of our own mobile applications, which will boost the sales process. So it was about assisting our employees through the client service. So, it is not only about the hardware, but we started to further development of application. And of course, it is again about the distribution of the hardware, because while we are distributing the hardware, you need also to educate people in the same time what for we are giving this small device. And we had to develop the communication plan, how to make the marketing of this solution internally. So we asked our employees who want to become the ambassador of the change, who want to support others with this, of bringing this full potential of these smart devices. So some local agents were appointed, and they were quite supportive to other employees. Well, the project itself was great in terms of building, not only because of boosting the productivity or building the customer experience because of rapidness of client service, but it is also a great occasion for enhancing our image as a very modern retailer. So it just gave us opportunity to inform our candidates that while they are coming to our organization, they will be equipped with the most sophisticated tools for work. So we of course held some press conference, we held some internal meetings in stores, so that gave us very nice coverage outside organizations. So people were somehow interested. Wow, that made the wow effect on the run broadly in Poland. And what's important for marketing, we invited a number of employees who were the guides, who just presented how to exploit the potential of tools as hardware and software. So we filmed something like 40 films about different usage patterns of mobility, as we are calling this project mobility, and it was really highly valued by employees. And rules. Just moving to the next chapter, I will just summarize, as the number of components is quite impressive probably for now. So hardware, there is software, there is a network, there is productivity tool, and there is a hardware again, but the professional hardware, also supplied by the employer. And now the rules, because as you see, this whole environment makes people enormously connected. So people are just not sure what they can do, what they can't do, what we are fully supporting as an organization, and what we will not tolerate as a behavior. So we developed the online social media policy. Hands up, who has already have this solution in their organization. Nevertheless, while you are having the very complex environment, this is something which is needed not only to protect the reputation, but it is needed to just make people, better informed about the requirements, about the environment and let's say the framework general, and it makes them, I think, even more confident about the content creation, because while we are putting the photo, am I allowed to put this? They always question probably themselves. Am I allowed to put this photo on into the corporate network or not? It will be tolerated or not? So people need to know what do we expect from them, and being bold in that, explicit in that, that makes more the whole environment more transparent. So here you see the social media policy in brief. It was based on the code of conduct, and the values, because you have to derive solutions to make things consistent on the existing cornerstone of the organization. So we found that the cornerstone for this online social media policy will be the code of conduct together with values. And we made this concise document divided into 5 pillars. It was about, I will show you this document, let's say, this concise form of the document. It was about the honesty, it was about the responsibility, it was about the data protection, it was about common sense and respect. So it was simple, and it gave the general overview about what we expect and how every employee should behave in this complex environment. So it's been widely distributed to all employees. Even while employees are coming to new employees are coming to organization, they have to sign that they understand and they will respect these rules. They are very general. There are no restrictions, I would say. There are no strict restrictions, but it is more about the common sense. It is about being reasonable in what we are doing. and it is about respecting some transparency rules, but at the same time it is about the respecting others as a people. And the new era. Well, just to tell you briefly what we've got so far. So we've got rules, we've got network, we've got corporate hardware, we've got quite sophisticated software, and it's time, as you see, there is one element which is lacking by now. It is about the intranet of a new generation. So the intranet 2.0. So having the Office 365, it would be, unreasonable to not use its full potential regarding the SharePoint, which is the industrial standard in terms of intranet creation. So it is about connecting all employees together and to create a very comprehensive digital platform. As you know, I will show you later on the screens that you have the intranet, but at the same time you have instantly access to whole spectrum of these productivity tools like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, whatever, from one place. Both. It is available for mobile devices and for the PCs. So it was a very long process of development. As you remember, on the Intranet 1.0, 100 people were working. That approach was quite similar, as we invited again more or less 120 people, and we streamed to work on the UX, to work on the content, to work on the how to organize, the main informational pillars, and to, just to judge on things, how to, for example, solve issues regarding data migration. So we organized a number of workshops. There were two types of workshops. One was for the headquarter, and the others were for the stores. As different user requirements emerged, we had to conduct slightly differently those workshops. As you see, we used a number of post-its. Probably were by the time the largest purchaser of the post-its on the market, because we really used a lot of them to structurize a little bit the information, etc. People were very engaged, and at the same time, it represented our culture of, co-working things together. So this intranet, this is not the tool shaped or created exclusively in the communication department, but it was co-worked by all employees. It was structurized among four main pillars. So it was about the human, so about all aspects of human. It was about the collaboration, organization, documents. So the four simple pillars. Quite recently, we added one more. It is about the financial results, because we found out that people are expecting to have immediate access to financial results, as we are organization results driven, I would say. So that was the update we had to do recently. So as you see, here is the screen of the PC on the left, and on the right side you see on the mobile device. This is not a clear, clean SharePoint. We had to put additional layer on the SharePoint itself in order to better represent the content on the small screens of smartphones. As still the responsive design of SharePoint is far from being perfect, so this additional layer is very, very necessary and needed. As you see here again, on the left side, you see the screen of the PC. On the right side, you see the screen of the smartphone. The measurement. I promised you that I will tell you how to measure the outcomes and how to measure the efficiency of the implemented mobile platform. It is about the value it generates for business, but what value it generates for employees and for the customers. And some KPIs need to be addressed and need to be developed. So if I could recommend something to you, it is the first, let's say, KPIs. It is about the adoption measure. So it is about measuring the adoption rate. So, you know, number of parts, number of people who are using the tool, etc. So, you know, general numbers of usage. Then we should measure the operational things, you know, number of innovations submitted, the time to market of the product or service while it's being developed in the online groups. And at the end, we should be more focused on financial results. And of course, the most tricky thing is how to link things together. So how to, you know, this financial results link at the end with a tool. But it is about the questioning people. It is about making the surveys. It is about building far more sophisticated models for measurement, but it is very needed because without having the measurement, you are not ready to answer the question which of the tools are creating value and which tools should be just excluded from the environment because it just provokes disturbance or it does distract people from the goals. So I would strongly recommend to measure. I'm open to discuss this topic further as the time is flying. So let's move further. So just to summarize a little bit my presentation, first you need to ask why. Because if you will not find the reasonable answer to question why should we go into direction of the mobile platforms or mobile solutions or you know, with equipping people with smartphones, then it's hard to further proceed. You need to really find the right answer why, and it needs to be really linked to the business purpose and strategy. Of course, the technology is important. I'm fully convinced that, you know, the choosing the right technology, of course, is the cornerstone. But you need to keep in mind the trio: the hardware, the software, and of course the people and the culture, because that could be the bottleneck. And carefully shape the product. You know, invite people who will finally use this product. Ask them what they want. Ask them in which area they need some digital support. Just, you know, it's about the questioning and just take your time. It's just if you will speed up the process, then you will pay additional price for some you know, bugs or some incompatibilities with requirements. Of course, even the best product can fail if not properly marketed. So of course, take your time for preparation of informational campaigns and explanation why, build a context of a change, and roll out technologies in phases. I showed you, I demonstrated to you that even us, we did it in phases. The small test, then the network, then the test again, then the survey, then another phase. So it's better not to put everything in the same time because people will get lost. But it is about phasing out different components of the platform. And at the end, don't forget to make the updates. Don't forget that the technology is changing. So even if you are fully satisfied with the solution, don't forget to make it up to date and just to catch up with the latest developments in terms of technology. And that's all. Thank you for this 50 minutes together. Hope you will have some questions and maybe I can just help you with something. So feel free to ask any question.
Thank you, Maximilian, for your presentation. We do, in fact, already have some questions in, so let's start our Q&A session. How are all the applications being managed on employee smartphones?
Yeah, that's very important. As you can imagine, while you're having 11,000 small computers, it needs to be managed centrally. So we are having the central software which allowed us to manage all devices together at once. So for example, if we are introducing a new app which assists our employees in sales process, we are just installing this application through all the devices. And it is again about, for example, updating security layers, so we can do all devices together. Of course, that helps us with keeping up to date all devices, and at the same time, it just boosts productivity because we don't have to take care device per device. So this is the MDT software, and it should be considered why the number of hundreds of devices are being introduced to employees. In the same time, it is about providing the backup options. It is about supporting or maintaining the hardware while employees has any problems or they encounter any issues with their devices.
And how well was the mobile intranet adopted by the users? Were there difficulties, and if so, what did you do to increase user adoption?
Yeah, at first, of course, we established a network of ambassadors in all stores. So it was about not only ambassadors of the solution, but it was about the content creators too. So because the new solutions, new social solutions, requires very good content to make it attractive. It's almost impossible to take care of the content centrally. So the years were, or the epoch, while the corporate communication department was fully responsible for the content are over. Now all employees have to contribute to social platforms. And it was about encouraging them, and this encouragement was necessary to be effected on the very locally. So we established network of ambassadors, we established network of content creators, or you can call them the community managers, and that helped us a lot with the content creation, which was, because being created locally, it was very attractive for local users, for local readers. As you can know, the content generated centrally is not always so much related to the interest of local employees.
Thank you. And the next question is something I think you already touched upon, but maybe we can follow up on this again. Was there any training required for the employees for them to understand the functionalities and the rules of use?
Yeah, that's about the marketing, and that's about. I will just give you one example, if you don't mind. So it is while the employee is joining the company, the first thing is that he or she will see on email the welcome email, saying, who is who in the organization, where you can find the different documents. But in the same time, we're introducing to the digital workplace. So saying, here you will find the rules, here you will find the creation tools, etc. So this is the first introduction to the digital working environment. The second thing is about the repetition. It is about repeating the communication about the rules, about the productivity could be achieved by these tools all the time. As you know, probably people are flowing through the organizations, not only RAM alone, but generally. So you need to all the time explain the value, the potential that could be enabled by using this technology. And it's about the business cases. You need to present to employees how these tools can help them in their day-to-day work, how it can boost their productivity, how it can help them with solving their problems, and at the same time, what kind of value it can bring to the customers. And as the customers right now are highly valuing the time, this is something which helps us to meet their requirements.
Good, thank you. Then maybe one last question. How about the business outcomes? What are the results of implementation of smartphones for customers and employees?
All right. As we implemented, the smartphones for employees, and by the time, of course, the customers are fully equipped with smartphones, so it was about building the symmetry. It is about building a symmetry in access to information. as you know, customers are fully aware about the products, about the services, and they have access to Google search engine. It was about equipping our employees with a symmetrical solution which will give them information about the product, services, etc. So it was about building equilibrium, and this is the first thing, so symmetry. The second, we reduced, of course, the service timing needed to fulfill requirements. We can serve clients as close to the product as possible, close to the shelves, and we can explain about the product characteristics almost instantly. There are no queues to these computers. So generally speaking, we can act quicker, we can serve our clients quickly, we can respond to their requirements, but what is even important more, that we can build the experience. You know, we are just building relationship, because being in touch together with employees, with other employees, and employees with customers, we are creating a very wide community, which of course enhance the total experience of making shopping in a store like Leroy Merlin.